Ron Burgeron and his son Reggy Burgeron are trying to get together as father and his son after being apart for about 50 years. They want to learn more about each other. This evening, Ron invites Reggy over to his trailer and they have a couple of beers together in front of a nice campfire. It is unclear if it is this coming together of a father with his long-lost son, or if it's just the alcohol, but Ron starts to tell Reggy about a huge secret he's been hiding for more than 50 years. "Wait, I have to get something. We'll be right back." Ron hurries back into his trailer and returns with an old photo album. The album has got a few old black and white photographs in it. Reggy thinks it'll be pictures of people who lived in Bovin. Maybe even an old photograph of his biological mother will be in there. Then Ron starts to tell his story. Ron starts to tell the story of the abduction of Anna the cow. "Dad, wait!" Reggy interrupts his father and tells him he already knows that story. He even saw a short documentary on the cow abduction on television lately. There's also a movie on this coming. Old Ron just shakes his head in silence. Then he says, "But nobody knows what happened after the UFO left, do they?" Reggy looks at his old dad and listens without interrupting again. Ron tells Reggy that after the abduction had happened, he went to the spot where the cow, little Bobby, and Bobby's mother were standing when the whole thing with the abduction happened. On the spot, he found a strange-looking little motorcycle. It didn't look as any of the motorcycles of that time, but Ron took an interest in the thing and took it home. He didn't tell anybody what he had found, though. Ron shows Reggy a picture of himself on a small motorcycle near the warning sign of Area 106. "Who took that picture?" Reggy asked his dad. "Well, that's a whole story in itself. But this is done with one of the cameras developed by Roxy Ludridge. It's called a dronochrome. A dronochrome is an automatic hovering camera that is able to take pictures of the surroundings. Wait, let me see." Ron searches in his old photo album and shows Reggy a picture of Roxy Ludridge testing the adjustments of an early experimental dronochrome camera. "But please, let me get on with my story," says Ron. He returns to the picture of himself. "After I figured out how to drive that thing, which didn't take very long to figure out, I started to wonder about the dials. They weren't ordinary dials like an odometer and a speedometer. No, you could change all kind of numbers yourself by hand. Here, look for yourself." Ron shows a picture of many dials that at first sight look like clocks, but on second sight obviously aren't. At the day I was playing with the dials on my motorcycle, as all of a sudden I got swept away as if a hurricane sucked me up right up into the sky. As I came to myself again, I looked around and saw a strange tower, all metal and higher as any tower I had ever seen before. Luckily, a dronochrome camera was also sucked into this hurricane, and I used it to take a picture of myself. Then I readjusted the dials to their original positions and got instantly hit by the same hurricane feeling. When I woke up, I was back at my trailer again. Reggie looked stunned at his dad, not knowing what to think of it. Is his dad losing his mind? Ron tells how he took the photo of the strange tower to the library of Bovin. After some research, he found out that this tower looked just as the Eiffel Tower of Paris, the capital of France. Using an atlas and a globe and some books on navigation, Ron discovered that he probably had set the dials of his motorcycle to the latitude and the longitude of Paris. "So," said Ron, "I thought by myself, if this really happened to me and I didn't dream the lot, let's experiment." So I went back to the library and spent a couple of afternoons searching through picture books for nice places to visit. Ron shows Reggie another picture. "See here, know what this is?" "Yes, of course," Reggie says. "It's the Taj Mahal in India. See me there on the picture? Took that with a dronachrome, of course. Nice, ain't it?" Before Reggie could answer, Ron took out another photo. "I always wanted to visit Africa, so I did." Ron shows a picture of himself and an elephant and another of him with a giraffe. "What about this?" And again Ron shows a picture. Now it's a photo of him on a Polynesian beach. "See me here? I let the dronachrome fly over the water for a while, and from there it took this picture. See me here? Gotta look real good to find me." Ron shows a picture of Aboriginal people. "You should have seen these guys. I scared them a lot appearing with my motorcycle and a dronachrome camera. And then they scared me even more. They were about to kill me and eat me. But I was able to distract them with the dronachrome, and this picture was taken just before the hurricane took me out of there." Reggie is speechless. He just manages to say, "That's quite a story, Dad. I've never heard such a thing in my life. But no offense, Dad, but I really find it hard to believe all this." Ron laughs loudly and says, "Ha! Well, just wait, because this is only half of the story. There's more?" "Well, sure. You must know that for decades I didn't have any time to experiment with my motorcycle. We had the Great Depression, the war, the Texan flood. I almost lost my motorcycle because of the flood. I was lucky that some soldiers recovered it from the mud at the place where our trailer had landed. After a long while, when things settled again, I started to get a new interest in it. By now I had figured out that I could visit any place on earth with my motorcycle, but I also realized that I had only been using the upper half of the dials. Believe me, I still had a hard time believing the whole thing myself. If it weren't for the dronachrome, I thought I was going mad. Ron tells Reggie how he managed to find out that the lower half of the dials could change the time of place of arrival. To prove to himself that it all was really happening, Ron had put the dials in such a way that it would put him in a certain place and time where pictures would have been taken by other photographers. That way he didn't have to rely on the dronachrome. So I put in a time and place where I knew that John F. Kennedy had been for an official visit. I set the dials, let the hurricane take me, and waited just long enough to be sure that some photographer had taken a picture while I'd be on. After getting home, I went to the library and checked many old newspapers to see whether I could find a picture of this particular event. This is the picture I have found. Ron shows Reggie a picture of John F. Kennedy on a visit in Mexico. This was proof to me that it was all really happening. A shiver goes down Reggie's back. And I didn't stop there. I found this old picture in an old book. I researched it well, and after I figured out where and when the photo was taken, I set the dials of my motorcycle to that particular time and place and waited in the shadow for the photographer to take the picture. Then I returned to the library and looked again in the same old book. It gave me the creeps what I saw. It was what I expected. But still, look at this. Reggie looked at the picture. It looks as if it's the same picture as the other. But wait, there, in the back. In the shadow are his dad and his motorcycle. Dad, do you realize you could have changed history there? Yes, son. That was the first time I realized the immense power of this motorcycle, or my time cycle, as I call it now. I did visit other time spaces, and I did my best not to be noticed. Look here, this is in the south of France at the heydays of this medieval city. At Flanders in the 15th century, I was a little bit careless, as I later found myself depicted by the painter Hieronymus Bosch at one of his famous paintings. Look here, if you look closely, you'll see it. Where? On the left panel, left upper corner. Looking closely, Reggie sees how the Renaissance painter had actually depicted his dad between all the monsters. I even went back in time further. I didn't take the dronochrome because I wasn't so keen on taking pictures anymore. But if you now go to the place where I was then, you can see this. Reggie shows a picture of prehistorical petroglyphs. Do you see it? Up here, carved into the rock. And on top of all this, I must show you this picture. I found it this week in a book on aliens in Texas. It looks as if after I visited a place in the Stone Age, there were other visitors after me. I wonder, are the aliens looking for me to get their time cycle back again? It suddenly feels cold as ice in front of Ron's trailer.